Given that it is the number one movie of all times in the IMDb list, many of you would have recognized the last shot I had shared in last week's story. Yes, today's story is about the Shawshank Redemption. Released on 10th September 1994, a film that bombed in the box office has since gone on to create history. Today's story is about the making of the Shawshank Redemption. Without a doubt, my favorite movie of all times. Hi, welcome back to Stories at Work, a series where I share real stories from around the world that you can use in business. On our website, storyworks.in, we have over 100 stories, and we are adding one every week. Let's start today's story. The year was 1977. By then, Stephen King had written various short stories and novellas and had become a fairly famous writer. Around this time, young filmmakers started reaching out to Stephen King, inspired by his stories. They wanted to adapt his stories for short films. Ignoring his accountant's worries, King created a unique opportunity. He called it his dollar baby policy. He offered student filmmakers the right to adapt his short stories into films for just $1. They simply had to sign a paper promising not to show the film commercially without permission and to send King a copy of the film. Now, despite his accountant's objections, King made this dollar baby deal for over a dozen times, fostering creativity and inspiring a new generation of filmmakers. One of the student filmmakers who approached Stephen King in the late 70s was a self-confessed rabid and devoted Stephen King fan, Frank Darabont. He had decided very early to pursue a life in the movie business. After finishing his high school, he started working odd jobs. That's when he heard about King's Dollar Baby offer. Darabont's dream was to make a feature film adaptation of King's novella Rita Hayward and Shawshank Redemption. But as Darabont explained in an interview, I hadn't even had my first job in the movies yet. So he approached King for the permission to adapt his short story, The Woman in the Room, into a short film. It was a strategic ask. Darabont figured that if he started with a dollar baby project and proved his capabilities, it might, as he said, open up the door with Steve. He worked on The Woman in the Room for 3 years. It premiered in 1983 and actually was a semi-finalist for Academy Award consideration. And most importantly, it opened up the door with Steve. In the interview I mentioned above, Darabont said, "When I asked for the rights to Shawshank, Steve was of a mind to grant them because he had seen the shot I had made of The Woman in the Room and he liked it very much." In 1987, Darabont sent King a check of $5,000 for the rights to Rita Hayward and Shawshank Redemption. Darabont wrote the script, which was so good that one studio offered him a huge amount of money if he let the more experienced Rob Reiner direct the movie. It would have been a life-changing payday for Darabont, who said at that time, "I could barely meet the rent." Ultimately, though, just like Sylvester Stallone in last week's story, Darabont's dream won out. He turned down the money because he said, "You can continue to defer your dreams in exchange for money and, die without ever having done the thing you set out to do." Darabont did the thing he had set out to do. He directed The Shawshank Redemption, which released in 1994. It was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Today, it is considered one of the greatest movies ever. There is an interesting twist to the tale. Following the movie's success, Stephen King framed the uncashed $5,000 check and sent it back to Darabont with a little note that said, "In case you ever need bail money, love, Steve." What a story. There are several takeaways from this week's story. The obvious one is that sticking on to a dream is hard. Sometimes there will be temptations, but not following your dream will be something you'll regret for the rest of your life. Remember, we regret the acts of omission more than the acts of commission. We always regret things we didn't do more than the things we did. The second takeaway is that passion and perseverance almost always leads to success. And the final lesson is to dream big but start small. I hope you enjoyed that story, and if you did, then there are over 100 more on our website storyworks.in. Bye for now. See you next week.